Roma community is the first minority in Europe. We are scattered across the globe as we are stateless. So the highest population of Roma is populated in Europe. Mostly Romania or Macedonia are the states that number the highest amount of number of Roma. The initial name of the Roma community was Gypsy, but at the first Congress of Roma that happened in 1971, we changed the name Gypsy into Roma. And in Roma language, Roma means a human being, because in Gypsy was kind of like a concept that people addressed Roma population as thieves, as dirty, as it has like a highly negative connotation. So political correct term in Europe is Roma. I know that in the United States it is not introduced correctly, but this is a great opportunity that we say that we have our language, that is Romanes. We have our flag, that is blue and green stripes with a wheel, and the wheel represents our movement as we came from India. So the wheel still represents some of the Roma groups that are still having this lifestyle that they go from one place to another. And our anthem is Jalem Jalem, which is like the same for any Roma groups across the world.
Our language was forbidden. When Roma people spoke in Romanes, the punishment was the authority have to cut your hair and your tongue. Also was forbidden the nomadic way of life. Every Roma family have to settle down and work for some rich people. For example, in my case, my surname is Fernandez, and in Spanish means the son of Fernando, but I'm not the son of Fernando. This means that my ancestor was pushing to work for Fernando and the family. In the current situation, we can say that more or less the situation is improving in different areas, but we occupy the third place in the people who is discriminate in Spain and in all Europe. We have a lot of problems with the access to education, housing, and this kind of thing. But I strongly believe that the main problem that we are facing as Roma in Spain and in Europe is the lack of recognition. We need, in order to be included in society, we have to be included as an ethnic group, such a cultural group. And this is, I think, is the first step if we really want to create a multicultural society.
We are the most excluded community, and we are having shortcomings, like we are not catched up with the mainstream society in any areas, like in education, in housing, and in employment. And all Roma communities face very high level of discrimination, like institutional discrimination, which is coming from the past. We arrived to Europe around at 13th century for Hungary for sure. And since that, there were, at that time, Roma were moving from different places, like they were commuting, but they settled down. For example, in Hungary, they settled down since at least 4 or 5 centuries ago, but still they are not integrated in the communities. In many parts, they live outside of the villages, outside of the countries, in a very bad and very poor conditions. We have also Roma language, which is unfortunately not spoken by many people, because our language was persecuted, and so people were very strongly pushed to be assimilated.
I think the situation regarding the Roma in Europe is getting worse and worse. Really, like nowadays, it's getting worse and worse. So I think it's very dangerous to have really official data. It can be again taken like during the Second World War from the government, and Roma were persecuted based on this data. Maybe because of this fear, people, okay, I will talk about Slovakia, but it applies to another countries also. People hide their identity. Some people are lucky because they don't really look, they don't have these Roma features, so they really successfully can hide it. But based on surnames, you can really find out anyway. And yes, so this is the problem, that they hide their identity. But on the one hand, I really can understand that why.
So I'm coming from Serbia, where I graduated from my bachelor's and first master's studies. I graduated in pedagogy studies, and my major is in kindergarten psychology. I was working in the Roma Inclusion Office, which is the part of the government of the Autonomous Province of Vojvodina in Serbia. And after that, after working in the government, actually, I decided that I want to be engaged more into the politics, as I realized that actually the Roma issue is a political issue. And in order for me to make a greater progress in my community, I realized that I have to be engaged in the politics. So I decided to go back to school and have another master's in politics, which will give me educational background, and kind of it will be my ticket to finally engaged in politics. But as I was offered to be part of the Roma Access program, which is a program at the Central European University that prepares Roma students to study in English. So firstly, I signed up for the Roma Access program, where I got academic English classes and tutoring in international relations and political science, which was a great opportunity for me, as I was studying kindergarten psychology and studying politics at the master's levels. It would be really hard. So with the Roma Access program, I was prepared to study politics. So I came to the Masters of International Relations in European Studies, where I graduated 2 weeks ago. And now I came here.
So I'm Spanish. I was born in Andalusia, in the south of Spain, and I grew up in a Roma neighborhood in Córdoba. When I was 18, I moved to Granada for my study. I'm graduating in philosophy. Currently, I'm doing my PhD in social anthropology. I'm writing my dissertation about the situation of Romani language in Spain and his connection with the Roma identity. Also, I was working in different Roma NGOs involved in educational issues in order to improve the educational situation of Roma children. And also I work in a Roma cultural museum.
Now I'm 26 years old. I'm a Hungarian Romani woman. I grew up in a Hungarian village. It is around, like, it is as big as Pablo. So I am quite familiar with this type of size. My family is my father, both, and my mother are Roma. They have Roma origins. I have 2 sisters, so we were living 5 in our family. My parents are not educated people. They finished only elementary school, so they are not really in this educated fields. We are, with my sisters, the first generations who finished high school and then went to college, and I'm the first one who went to university. My father was working till he was retired, but my mother, as I remember, she never really worked. She just received work from this public unemployment work. So she was, it is kind of welfare system where she could work, which is important to know about myself. I always say that I can sit here because I'm a lucky person. I'm lucky because my parents were, even if they were uneducated, but they kind of realized that education is important and it can be our only chances to get a better life than they have. So we weren't really, I would say that we were poorer families. So we had to always think about how to arrange our life. So education was considered as a value. And my second thing, which I'm saying that I'm lucky, I didn't attend in segregated school, so it was not very bad quality school when I went. And I always met some persons who could help me, who wanted to guide my way, and who were eager to, I don't know, to give me any kind of help. And that is the way how I got to high school, then I got to university, and then I got to our special affirmative action program at the university, and that's why I can be here.
So I'm coming from Slovakia, as I mentioned. I'm Roma, but I wasn't raised as a Roma girl.
Your father's Roma?
Yes, my father is Roma, and my mother is non-Roma, and we were living a part of our family, our relatives. I was brought up in the capital most of my childhood, I think till my 12 or 13, something like that. So actually I didn't even know that my father or my relatives are Roma at all. And then when I came to secondary school, we had, in the last grade, we had introduction to Roma problem or Roma issue, whatever it's called. Because that was the beginning in the Slovakia, like the Roma problem was always in Slovakia. But that was the beginning, or it was like before the entrance to European Union. And when this topic was kind of hot and it was put into political agenda. It just started that time. So I was learning about Roma, and based on this I decided to choose my field in university. I graduated from social work focused on Roma communities, and there the first year I realized that I'm Roma, because we were learning about the surnames, the origins, and also some people came to me, and I was always counting because the professors were saying that, oh, this year we have 6 Roma here, and I always counted only 5. And I was asking, like, who is the 6th one? So then I somehow figured out, and what is interesting, that I was really shy to ask my mom, because I thought that if she didn't tell me, then is something wrong about that. But I wanted to know, so I came home once and I asked, like, no, I didn't want to ask, so I made like a tricky way. And I said that, you know, like our group can go to Auschwitz for like excursion. And she said, like, sorry, but we don't have money, you cannot go. And I said that, but it's okay, because Roma students can go for free. And she was like, but you are not Roma. But my father, yes, your father is Roma, but you are not. So like that was the time when it somehow broke, and I wanted to know more about Roma culture, tradition and everything, just because of my father, because I think that he is really the best man in the world, and I don't need to be ashamed for what he is, and then I am also. So this was kind of, I think I broke somehow this, let's say, taboo in our family. Because firstly it was very difficult when I was playing the Roma music, that I wanted to learn how it is and everything about that. And my mom or sisters came into my room. They were like, "Oh my God, just shut it down." Like they didn't really want. Then I applied. I was working as a social worker with Roma community for 3 years, and then after school teacher and leader of leisure activities with Roma children. And then I applied for a Roma English language program in Budapest. But my mom was against that because in that time, after my work as a social worker, I couldn't find a job anymore. It's very hard in Slovakia. There is a high unemployment rate. And I was working as a summer job. I was working in a factory. And it was something that I really didn't want with MA. Yeah. So then I applied in this Roma English language program because I wanted to speak English in order to have like more open doors in the future to work on something better, because as a social worker I wasn't really satisfied. That was really like I couldn't do things. I could help to some individual, but that was just like small part. I didn't really solve the problem. So I realized that I want to work on some policies or something that really like change something. So when I came there, I spent there 1 year, and my mom was always like, "Oh my God, come back. It's better to have like stable job in factory." And yeah. Then when I came back, I applied for another program that was this academic English program, which was preparing for MA. My mom was sick, like, "Oh my God, like 2nd year somewhere, for what? For nothing." So, yeah, so then finally I graduated, and when I told her that I applied for MA, she's like everybody, not just my mom, but all my relatives, they were repeating one sentence like, "World is not waiting for you, be realistic. Like, come back and you will work." And I was always like, no, I will do it. And then in the end, I got accepted to Switzerland, to university, and now that time I really see my mom first time in my life that she's really proud. And now she really admitted that it's really good that you didn't listen to me, that you just went your way. So now my aim is to work for Roma. I want to work on Roma inclusion, and I am interested very much in education and unemployment, because we have in Roma issue consists of 4 main fields: is employment, education, healthcare, and housing. 4 of them are really important, and the situation in 4 of these fields is very bad. But I think that education and employment are the most important ones, because education is the key to everything, to employment, to better living conditions and everything. If you have just housing, yeah, you have nice house, maybe somebody will do some project, build some houses, but without money, without education, you will not get a job, and without job, you will not really be able to take care of that house. So after a few years, the house will again look very like in decay, or so.
I take part in different programs as a cultural mediator. I was working creating link between Roma families and school, and trying to create in the school environment, an inclusive environment for Roma people, for children, try to include the family in the everyday life of the school.
So my first, after high school, I applied to the university, the Faculty of Art, where I could study pedagogy. It is kind of science of education, where we could speak about education systems, with different education systems, and we were dealing the issues inherent in many education, so basically in schools. So it was the way, and it was the moment when I realized that education for me is interesting, and I want to deal with education, and I want to combine somehow education with Roma minorities. So I wanted always to get closer to this field, how to create schools which are kind of livable. You can live there and you can just love the school, because it is the biggest problem in many schools, and with kids they fail because schools are really not for them. So it is my BA. Then I was studying at a college. It was a 2-year program. It was kind of community organizing. I'm a community organizer according to my certificate. And then I applied to Roma Access programs. First to Roma English language program, which aims to give English skills to give kind of like at least basic English. And then I continued my studies at Roma graduation preparation program, where we got academic English skills, and they improved our academic writings, our speaking skills, everything. And besides, we were having tutorial classes, and I took tutorial from public policy, from the public policy department. And next year I will start my MA at the School of Public Policy, which is a 2-year MA program at Central European University.
My first job when I was 19 was to do monitoring of the project that is called Inclusion of Roma Pupils in Vojvodina. So the project is consisting of several components. One of the major components was that every Roma student would have a mentor, which was a teacher or a pedagogist or pedagogue or a psychologist in the school which the pupil is attending. And the second one was that they will have a small stipend, which was kind of like 50 euros, I guess, per month. And third component was that they will have a monitoring team. So I was the part of the monitoring team, which means that me with another director of a primary school would monitor the work of a mentor. That was a very, very successful project, and it's still going on in Vojvodina. Unfortunately, it is only for Roma students in Vojvodina, which means that Roma students from Serbia are not the part of it, but the main aim of the project is to keep Roma students in high school, which means that before that we targeted that there is a high range of Roma students that drop out of school, especially when it comes to Roma female students. And the other thing was that we aimed that larger number of Roma students after they finish high school go to university. So that was my first job. And then my second job was working as a PR and education officer in the Roma Inclusion Office. During the time when I was working in the Roma Inclusion Office, we had elections. So I was working, I was kind of like advocating for the Democratic Political Party that was promoting the Roma rights in Vojvodina. And the second thing is like that Roma students, mostly in Europe, actually the states who signed the resolution of Decade of Roma Inclusion are obligated to implement measures of affirmative actions when Roma students enroll in high schools and universities. So that was my job, to implement the part of this strategy when it comes to education of Roma children in Vojvodina. And it would happen sometimes that students would like to go to school and they would pass this minimum that was required for them, and then it would be easy for us to implement the measure. But sometimes parents, they would lack the parents' support, and then I would come there and talk to the parents, and director of the office would tell them what are their opportunities, and like that it would be better for them to enroll at the university and stay in this education process. And that was, it was a great experience, and I loved that job very much because I could see the progress. I could see students who would start and finish, and I would see how they would be happy with the knowledge they gain within each semester?
So when I was at the university during my pedagogy studies at the third year, I met a program which is a very, very unique program at the field of education. There was a segregated school which I described a little bit. It had very bad qualities. Basically, they put Roma children, but it was not really according to their wish. They were just put there, and other non-Roma parents they left, and the teaching quality was very, very bad, very low. These kids basically they weren't able to read in the grade of fifth grade. They hardly could write their names. And this school was closed by the organization where I worked, and the kids were separated into many schools in our city. Because it was not in my village where I grew up. I went to university to a big city, and it was there. So then it was the third year when I joined to this program. It was aiming integration, to get integrated these kids both from social perspective and from academic perspective as well. And I joined to this program at the third year. I was having kids, I was mentoring them, I was doing homeworks with them, I was preparing them for daily school task activities. We were learning together in groups. And my second task was, and of course, besides this, we were organizing many free time activities where we just could improve the relation between non-Roma and Roma kids. And besides, my second task was, and still it is my task since this 2009 year, to keep connection with parents. I was the one who, they thought that my friends and the organization, because they became really like my friends, they thought that they would need someone who is just dedicated exactly for keeping in touch with parents and who could visit them, but not as an institution, like not an official person, but who could just visit them and go them and just have a nice relation with them. And I was that person. Time to time I went to them, I called them on phone, and we were discussing about many things, like indirectly I was trying to help them to give them maybe some advices how to do with kids, how I was the connection, I was the bridge between school and parents and between mentors and parents.
I applied because I'm really curious for the Native American culture, especially the situation of the native language, because I think that we share a lot of points in our history and the experience to be an ethnic minority and live among a dominant society, and how the dominant society create the image about us. So I apply because I'm really interested in how you are including the native language, recovering the native language, and including educational level.
He is very happy that I somehow follow this Roma everything, because now also my sisters and my mom, they are like, they take it like very normal, like, yes, we are Roma, so what? And even my younger sister now, because I don't want to really force people. I can really understand that because of this, all what happened in the past, people still feel fear, especially in these Central European countries. So I don't really want to force, but my sister got accepted to one Slovak university just now, like this week. And she applied also for another university which is in capital, and she would need money for commuting there if she is accepted there. So I said to her that, okay, I can help you, maybe we can apply for some scholarship, because I know these Roma organizations which really support Roma students. But in that case, you need to really like admit that you are Roma, like officially, because you will need some recommendation letter, so maybe from the principal of the school, you know, so like the school will know. And she was like, okay, no problem, like, so why? So this, I think, that is success of my private success.
My prime academic interest is political participation of indigenous people. As even if we see Europe as a continent and the European Union as an empire that advocates for democracy, multiculturalism, respect of minority rights, the status of Roma minority is below marginalization. And if we take Native Americans as a group that was also marginalized, and if we take both similarities and contrasts, this was a great opportunity for me to learn how those policies and what was the path of these tribes and groups and how they went through this path in order for me to understand how this political participation of Roma minority in Europe can be done. I do understand that we cannot retake everything and like do everything the same, but there should be some good practice that could be transferred and reflected to the Roma group. Also, I think that the work I've done and that I know that is done about Roma can reflect here and maybe transfer some good practice to you. And this can be a very good opportunity for us to cooperate together, not just now, but in future. Because there are some other Roma students, and I'm sure other Native American students, full of knowledge and different interests, where our knowledge can be put together, and we can create a great network and work together. I do understand that as marginalized groups, we depend on the mainstream society, but I take this internship as a situation where two marginalized groups are put together and work together and learn together. So when I saw the call for this application, that was my prime aim and my prime motivation why I applied for this.
Wow. First of all, I would like to know the experience of the native Indian, know the history, the culture, and how in today's society the native Indian build their identity. And also I would like to know the concrete way and how you are working in order to recover your language, and how you are creating a specific program to teach the language, and how we live this experience that when we are, our language was stolen in some way, but we still have a connection, in my case with other Roma, in your case with other Indian, how we are dealing with this experience. I'm really curious about it.
For this internship, because as I mentioned that I'm interested in the education is I think the key to everything. And as I understood, this is also about the field of education, but then about the Indians. In Slovakia, we say that as many languages you know, as many times you are human beings. And I think that we can apply this also to cultures. So, because I don't speak really too many languages, but as I was traveling and studying abroad, and I met really like people from whole Europe and also from America, I got to know different cultures, and I think it's really plus for my life. And then I have one Afro-American friend, and we were talking, and in that time when we were talking about our origin and history and so on, I realized that with Afro-Americans we have also, like Roma has also some similarities, like it's impossible, but it's amazing. And based on this, I decided that also about, like regarding the Indians, it can be plus for me. And now when I am here, actually, I just learn in this process that really like many things are very similar. And from this, I can really learn. When I see, it's just beginning of my being here, but what I see here, like regarding the education and social work, there are many interesting things which are not in Slovakia. So maybe, I don't want to say that I will come to Slovakia and I will do something what I saw here, because first of all I need to get employed somewhere, but I'm somehow collecting all the good things which I see in the world, and I hope that one day I will really figure out what can apply to my community.
Well, my prime aim is to become a scholar, which means that I'm going to contribute to the academia, to the theoretical frameworks that are written about the political participation of indigenous people. So the first thing where I'm going to contribute after this internship is the paper that I'm going to produce during this internship. That is going to be the first academic piece where Native Americans and Roma from the Western Balkans are going to put together as case studies, and where I'm going to write as a scholar. I think it's, as I'm coming from Serbia, I will be the first Roma woman who is engaged in politics, which means I'm going to be the first academic Roma woman, a scholar, who is going to deal with the political participation of indigenous people. And I think that is already a very huge step forward. And in Serbia, this is going to be the first time that we are putting together Roma populations with Native Americans, because what usually Roma leaders did, they would always connect Roma with African Americans. But this is a great opportunity that we connect with other groups too, and learn together. So I'm going to contribute on the scholar works of both Native Americans and Roma scholars, and demonstrate the knowledge that I'm gaining at the moment in Montana.
So first, it's as I mentioned it earlier, I'm still working with parents, with kids. I'm volunteer in some organizations where when we go to high school kids, and we keep them lessons what means to be Roma in Hungary, and how to just speak about our issues. So first, I'm strongly hoping that when I get home to my kids and to my parents, I mean the parents whom I work, so I can just kind of immediately implement some good practices, some good ideas how you work, and then later I'm just strongly hoping that in my life I can somehow go to work in the Hungarian Ministry of Education, and I can just design, or I can be part of designing curriculum. These are my bigger goals.
Yes, my purpose is with this, based on this experience and this data that I can collect here, to publish my experience and my analysis for this situation, and I would like to bring some recommendations, some good practice based on your experience, because as you know, we almost lost our language in Spain, but now the young generation of Spanish Roma, we are trying to recover our language, because it's recover our root in any way. But really, we have some Roma with a lot of interest in this, a lot of Roma with interest, but we don't have the tool. We need to create our tool, and can be very useful. Use your example in this regard.
It is said that Native Americans are among these 3 or 4 groups who are very close to Roma people. I mean, our problems are kind of similar, and we are having the same kind of history through this whole society issues. So that was my main motivation, because I was hoping that I can find many similar things, and so it is teaching and learning methods through education, and it is my background, it is my passion to learn about education issues and to redress it somehow, because I strongly believe that there are ways where we can just help our kids. We shouldn't just let them to get wasted, because if we have good methods, we can help them. And I came here because I heard that you are putting, so you have good practices how to put your history into curriculum and how to develop your kids' identity through curriculum and through schoolwork. And in Hungary we have many problems with that, because identity issues are just enormously big in Hungary. So our kids, they just don't know how to be proud of being Roma, and not just to being proud, but at least they just, if they would hide it. And I definitely want to deal with this program in my future. So I want to get some good practices how to help our kids to have a healthy identity. And my second motivation is that since I was working with parents, I'm interested in how to get involved parents, how to work with them, and how to improve them as well. Because I really believe that if you want to make a kid successful, you have to work with their teachers and with their parents as well. So it's not enough if you just pay attention on one. So that's why I came here, because I heard as well you are paying attention on working with parents as well.
So I hope that I will learn something that really can help to my community, to Roma. And I'm interested mostly in education, but also as a social worker in social work. But I think in the future I will work more with education than with social work. But anyway, it's very interesting for me to see maybe which kind of programs in the field of social work you have here. Because in Slovakia, we, as a social worker, you don't really find a job. And once you find, it's either administrative work in let's say in office of labor, social affairs and family. So you don't really, you get in touch with people, but they are just coming, you give them some paper to sign and go, and next one, it's like in the row. Or then you have social work through projects, which are usually founded, now it's also a national project in Slovakia, but it was founded by European Social Fund. And these projects, they really target Roma, but I don't think that they are really organized. Me as a social worker, I didn't have any structure, and I was new one. I was just graduated. During the time I was doing my MA. And you don't have any structure, so you are like responsible for your work, you need to organize everything. So I think it will be really good to see also how it is organized here, and maybe in the future it can be a really good example for my country.
We are very much focused on Roma, like what type of problems do we have, what are, so we think that no others are having problems. So I think that if I can come and I can visit other communities, other people who are kind of similar, my way of thinking can open, and then I can learn many things as well. So I keep it important to have good practices, and sometime later in my future I can just improve in a bigger scale this Hungarian education system.